Good evening. Thank you for the introduction. So yes, you know my name, Valérie Mavoungou, and I'm very glad to be here. I'm very thankful to connect with you, with my Nigerian colleagues, and to talk about architecture, which I think passionate everybody here in the audience. And I thank Chuka for everything because he made it possible, and it was quite a journey to come from Brazzaville to here, but I made it, so I'm really glad to be here. So I will talk about my experience, my professional experience with this presentation, and so let's start. Yeah, so I think the introduction was quite. I made a title, but it's about the practice in Congo because I think our architecture should be contextualized, and the context is everything. You cannot do anything without understanding the context. So I wanted to make it clear from where I come from because there are two Congos, and I come from the little one. And just to understand, I think it's maybe the landscape look like Nigeria, but I'm not very sure. And we are like a rainforest, tropical country. There is a lot of greenery. And we have a big river, which is the second river in the world after the Amazon. So those are really the facts to understand about the climates. It's an equatorial tropical climate. And I think when you do architecture, you have to understand where you do it. And we have two main cities, so Brazzaville, the capital here on the river, and Pointe-Noire, where I live, which is on the Atlantic. So it's a coastal city. Just so Brazzaville, it's a small country in terms of inhabitants. It's not the same as Nigeria. We have 5 million inhabitants, and there is 1.5 in the capital and 1.5 in the economic capital. And just we have this big river, we have a full port, we have a lot of greenery, and we also have a lot of challenges like the expansion, which is quite the same everywhere, and energy distribution, challenges like a lot of African city, I guess. And the second city where actually I live is on the seaside. So you will see maybe a lot of project that has the seaside, the view on the seaside, because that's the coastal. We have like almost 50 kilometers of ocean, and it's a small city but with a big extension, and we have a lot of lakes and lagoons, but we have a beautiful landscape. So that's, I think, where I start from. I believe that when you do architecture, you have to understand landscape. For me, it's really, really important. So all the projects I do, every time I come back to a concept, and I'll talk about the project that were inspired by the greenery, so the forest, the mangrove, the canopy, and I'll show you the first project that actually led me to my practice in order to 2012. I did a project for my diploma, which was a very theoretical project. Actually situated on the Parisian region, but for me it was like I was doing a project in my own country because I tried to understand how you could actually propose an equipment that is inscribed in the relief, is understand the topography, is climate and environment. Sorry for my English. I'm a francophone. I think you understood that. So this project was my first manifesto. I mean, I had like an enlightenment that if I wanted to practice architecture back when I go back, I had to do something that was much more aware of the environment, because as Tosin said, I grew up in different African cities, and I remember living in some places that were well ventilated, where you didn't need AC, and some places that were awful because it was not adapted to the environment, to the context. So So that's actually my principle. I really think that you should work with the potential of a site. You have to understand the topography, you have to understand the enlightenment, you have to understand the ventilation. Those things, sometimes you forget about it when you work in the city and you know you have a client that wants something, but it's actually the basic of architecture. So if you can work with that and try to also do some research with the craftsmen, and even though some of them, I've been working with some people that couldn't read some plans, but we managed, to work together. You can actually respond to the climatic challenges like heat and rain and humidity in a certain way that could be, not a revolution, but something that is more suitable to our own situation. So the first application I had is an eco-lodge. It's 3 hours from the city, so it's in a rural place. And the concept was very simple. It was about sleeping and resting in the trees, not far from the ocean. So those are small cabins, wooden made with redwood, with a lot of local craftsmen, yes. And the concept was we actually wanted to minimize the separation between indoors and outdoors, which is a thing that we forgot. Sometimes living, our big cities, and we're like AC, and we don't actually see the landscape, or we have this beautiful landscape. I don't know about here. I know Lego's a big town, I've seen that now, not just red, but still I think we can find proper, proper solution to, and very simple frame and very simple line to do, even with the minimum. There is no, a small project. I think that even if you do a tower or if you do a cabin, you have to think about it in a certain way. So that's the site. So that's actually the place. It's not far from Gabon. It's actually on the entrance of the natural park, and it's 3 hours from the city. And all the buildings are inscribed in the forest, and there is the coastal and the seaside. And we didn't cut any trees. We just integrated all the little facilities inside, and we use actually the local wood, which is a red tropical wood name. We call it Mwabi, and Bilinga, but I'm sure maybe you have the same trees here with another name. I think it's possible. And that's one of the cabin, which is the biggest one. It was not quite finished when I took the picture. So the challenge was the treatment, because we have this kind of material, but we don't know really how to use them. And I did my research. I tried to work with some craftsmen, and we actually tried to find analog solution with the drying using linseed oil, the treatment, because you have a lot of insect. You have, the wood is actually, it's a good material in terms of temperature, and it's locally, available, but we don't have proper cutting, like industrial cutting. We don't have industrial drying, so we have to do it in a very traditional way, but it's possible. So this is was one of the first experiments I did, and the importance was to use the sunshades and to put all the cabins in a certain way that they all have a view on the sea, and they all oriented in a way that you have the ventilation and the natural wind that comes in. So it's never hot inside. Either it's equatorial climate, it's never hot inside. And it's solar panel energy we use for that. We use the water collection. We collect the water from the roofing. And I put some traditional thatch on the roof for insulation, because we have an aluminium roof in the first place, but to add some, not to have this kind of raw aluminium and then to have insulation, I work with the local craftsmen to put some other thing. Yeah, so I want to talk about the wood. So that's, I think, all the wood we have in Congo, but I'm pretty sure that we can have the same here. So we have a lot of advantages. We have a noble, it's beautiful, it's available, it's suitable for hot climates, it's good for thermic, it's breathing material, it's resistant, it's the most resistant actually wood in the world, but it's heavy, it's difficult to cut. We don't know how to dry it in the proper way. We have some fire breaks issues. So and we have to think about the leak of the leak proof, especially when you do the trading. So, and we don't have like technical skills locally, and we don't have industry, so you have to work with that. And I think architecture can actually, if you work with some local people, some local craftsmen, you actually can get somewhere, because nobody's going to do that for you, and you just keep importing, materials from somewhere. And I think you can actually do some research and try to do something. So that's the view, that's like another view. So those are the little cabins. So this is the 3D, and then after we made it, this is another one. We did all the furniture on the site. So everything is open actually. It's all about shades, wood, so the wood is treated. And actually it's working. People were afraid to go there like for for holidays, but now they do. They're like, oh, is there AC for the mosquito? How do you do it? No, you do it like back in the days, you have the ventilation, and it's never hot in there. It's never hot. So yeah, that was like the beginning, how we did with the frame, and then we started from nothing, and then at the end it was like little wooden cabins. And the bathroom, outside bathroom, we used bamboo that we treated with borax, which is a manner to treat this material. Everything for the water is hidden. So, and you have the ocean view everywhere, from everywhere, and you just paint your nail like, in the white, in certain, like natural place. And yes, it's all about the views, the landscape, the undulation, and the trees. And you don't cut trees. When you don't cut trees, you don't eat AC, somehow. So after that, I had another beach cabin, but this one is quite simple. It's almost the same concept. So pilotis, rational, regular frame, balconies, panoramic view, the big roof, so you protect the wood, and all the natural ventilation, the redwood, and the inside-outer fluidity. And that's another one that's coming, so I just wanted to put that so you can see that it's possible to have, different kind of structure. You can actually play with this material if you want to. It's also an outdoor bar, but it's quite possible. It's quite pleasant to work with this kind of material. So I started with that because it's the simplest project that I did, but I think it's quite funny, and yeah, it's also part of architecture. That's another one that's coming, and it's in Monrovia, Liberia, so it's a tree house. So somehow you can have some, very eccentric clients which want to live, in kind of, insolite places. So this tree house is based on a kaput tree, and you just have, so that's the kaput tree, and you have the sea view on this side, and you have the trees and the forest. And then he wanted to have a place, where you have a panoramic view, but he's, in a way that he's hidden, you can't see what he's doing inside, and then like a modern bathroom here with glass things, so you can actually it's just for one person or maybe like a couple, let's say that, but it's possible to do. So this one is starting in it's going to start not far from now. So, and then I did some research about the wood because it's a bit different, but that's some different kind of, you can play with that. And then I will come to the water and the void, which is another concept that I use a lot, because we always talk about structure and buildings and playing, but you have to play with the void, because a building doesn't exist if there is no an understanding of the void, of the landscape, of what is happening outside. So it's actually an exchange, and it's a dialogue between the void and between the building. And water, because the project I will show you will play with the water too. So we start with a theoretical project. This one was made in Cambodia, back, it was actually 8 years ago. But that's a project, I think that it's really simple also. It's parametric, it's a big roofing the site was this place. So in Cambodia they have some temples and they have some water surrounded by like a moat of water, and then we had to put an equipment there. So a lot of people thought that you should build here, but I think that actually you can let the void and then build around the void, and then play with the landscape and the distribution. And so that was something like a building that unfolds around the landscape, an internal landscape. So how do you bring the landscape inside the building? That's a thing that you could think about in your future project, maybe. I don't know. And then I think this is the first patio beach I did, which is not finished yet, but so it's not far from the city, and the concept is a patio. So there is the beach, and actually the client wanted to have rooms and bungalows that are independent, but he wanted the people to be together if they want to, so they have so they can actually go to the room if they don't want, and they can actually meet if they want in the living room, which is an outside living room because it's just a big table, and it's more about the outside. But then all the room have to have the sea view, so you have to play with that in a certain way. And so this is what happened. And so the patio has an internal garden. And it's also about the void. So when I imagine this place, I had to think about how do I get to you can actually explode the bungalows, but if you want to keep them together, you have to think about something else. So that was the project in the beginning. It changed a little bit after. So first you arrive by there, and there was just a hole. It's not a window. It's just a way to see the seaside without actually. It's like how can I say that in English? Mise en scène. Maybe no. So yeah, it's more like cinema. Like you arrive, you see the building, but you see the seaside too, right? Okay, yeah. And then you have all the bungalows that are inside, or I think there were like 5 or 6 rooms, and then you have the common space, and then you have the kitchen. And it changed a little bit because I put something up, and I think I couldn't find the plan for the presentation. So, and yeah, and then you have the place to put all the boats and stuff, and so it's not finished because there was a lack of money at a certain point, and then now I think it's getting better. So they call me. So we're going to finish this project yet. So for now it's very simple. You can see the frame, and you can see the room that actually have the sea view. This is the bathroom, one of the bathrooms that has a sea view also directly. So the concept here is that you can actually have the bath and have the view on the seaside. And the material are supposed to be, so they don't go there often, so they don't want to have to spend money to manage it. So it's just like proper concrete. You treat it a certain way, and then you polish it, and that's it. And wood and concrete and white wall. So that's also like the place. So this is the kitchen that you can open with a bar, and then there's a place where you can actually stand with all the family can stand, and they have the sea view. So they're just outside. And yeah, some details. So very simple. It's not. There is no fanciness here. It's really like raw. Yeah. So I go to another project that talks about the void. So this is another project that is actually now in structure studies. It's I call all the villas tropical villas because I try to think about how do you actually interact with the climate. And this project is mostly about patios again, and different views and shades. And so those shades will be in wood. So I will try also to work with local craftsmen. And the concept was to bring the garden inside the house without, so all the family can stay either in the living room, but they can be outside. And if they are inside, they have also the view on the garden in different ways. And so the water here is not the real water, but you bring a false one, so it's just a swim corridor. And it's a repetition of sunshade because this side is the seaside, even though they're quite far from the coastal. But you have actually the sunset the shades are here for that. And the second villa with the void. No, this is another 3D. So that's what it's supposed to look when it will be done, because I didn't want to put their not build it project, but Chuka told me, no, you should actually show also the one that are not finished yet, so that's why I'm showing you that. And that's another, so there is a pool house there, and it's all about volumes, void inside the house. That's another one that is going into, and it's almost the same concept, but it's not the same configuration. So the void here is under the second floor, and my client here, she likes to swim, but she doesn't like the sun, so she wanted to swim, but to be covered. So I managed to do what she wanted, and here the garden is separating the parking from the let's say the family side, so it's quite different, and there is a covered parking too. So landscape is very important. And then I'm working on this project, which is a urban project. So that's actually the center, not the center, but a part of the center of the city I live in. And there is actually anarchic bars, but it's a place that is every day is used by, maybe it's the only one public space in the city, because as every African city is private city, we don't have gardens, we don't have, so the city is thinking about changing. The election are not very far, so they think about changing some stuff and add some little public furnitures and facilities, but they didn't have a lot of money, so they asked for digital squares, for analog sport places. And so we had to think about, and this will be a place where a running corridor. So very simple facilities that will change, because people actually go there, they swim there, but there's nothing, there's no toilet, there is nothing. So we had to think about something that is not very expensive, and I think you can play with landscape, and landscape can change, a lot with the experience of a city. Especially when you have a city on the coast like this. And so we thought about doing a craft village on the seaside and putting some public solar lighting, public toilets, dry toilets, so not expensive too, and rescue station, because a lot of people, there the waves are very high, so there is also a security problem, and that's it, And yes, they ask also because the bus is going here, for now the national transportation company has some problems, but we still they have some buses right now. They're not working quite well, but still they want to have some bus stations that were not expensive and that were suitable for the seaside, so no fancy things, just raw local material, not expensive, and with solar panels, so they can be enlightened by that. And so this one, I think, is the one they like the most. So I think this one is mostly the one they would do. So we have we have, so it's wood, concrete, and stone, yes, stone, and solar panel on the roof. And they also asked for little kiosk, so to organize actually the beach, because it's already there, but there is no structure, so everybody just go there and then throw their things, and there is no. So they wanted to have an identity, so that's something that everybody can customize, but it's made by local material, and you can actually close it, and then you can put everything you want inside, and it's in pilotis, so it's quite simple to do that. And we call it ganda in Congo, so yeah, it's very popular. So that's another thing, another view. And the last part is just this part, which is the laguna. So yeah, I don't have any views for that, but the thing, the idea is to put some water activity on the river, and so that's the view of the city. That's the way they rest during the weekend. It's nice. And yes, because we have a need of parking, I propose what I call landscaping parking. So you don't have to put a lot of concrete to do that. So the separation is vegetal. You put some trees so that the cars are not in the heat like this, and you dissimulated the cars so you don't see the cars. It's not like big parking on the beach side, And then you just you put some trees somewhere, and then you have the parking, and somehow it disappears because nobody wants to see cars, like linear cars. So the last theme is the sky and the shade and the permeability. So, which is, I think, another concept that is very important when you work. So this project, it's actually a penthouse, and my client, they actually finished the building when they called me, and there was a problem because, let me show you. Because the person, let's say the firm that did the construction, didn't manage the two last levels. So when you were on the 8th level and the 9, you could see each other. So there was like a visibility, and so it was not well thought. Maybe I have a picture, but I'm not sure. So, and they wanted to, to have more of outdoor space, and they wanted something because they spent all their money and they couldn't actually enjoy it because that's where they live. So I proposed to put two. So this didn't exist before. So we just extended the terrace, and we have the sea. So it's really a beautiful place. And in order to have not something that is just concrete and like a plain level, I recommended to put some pergolas, locally wooden made it, in order to have the shade. So here are the neighbors, but you don't really see each other, and then actually worked quite well. So that's the project here. We added all these things, and after I did all the interior, the home staging, everything. So everything changed from this to this, and I will show you some pictures. Yeah, so that was how it was before. And then, no, that's the other side. So this view, this place I think is this one. Yeah. So they have a lot of terrace that I put it, and we put some decking. We kept the permeability with the transparent railing, and there is this big pergola, so you can enjoy actually your rooftop, and there is something much more poetic about that than what it was before. So that's the inside. It used to be like that, and then I made some separation with between the living room. I put an exterior bar so you can have the view on the city. So this is outside, but inside there is no real separation. It's just because sometimes the rain can come inside, so we put some glassing. and actually it worked. And that's the inside. So a lot is imported because they liked Italian furniture. I didn't manage to do some locally made furniture here, but you know, I tried to keep the tropical African touch somehow, and I think they're pretty happy about that. And that's a portrait. And I will finish with this project. So the thematic was the sky and the primarily and the shades. So that's my first tower. We'll see how it goes because now the economy is not doing well, and my plan said, oh, maybe we'll do like maybe 2 floors. But he paid me for that already, right? That's cool. But I mean, to actually do the construction. So we are an old country, so now it's really, really bad. So a lot of kind of projects are quite shut down. But he wanted, he wanted a tower. That's what he wanted. So he had a site, and then I proposed. So it's very simple. The concept is simple. The floor is liberated. The parking is underground, and you have the apartment that are all, they all have terraces, so they all have a view. They all have what we call transversality, transversal. And we have a nodal, distribution nodal. So, and what was important is that I put the building, I actually calculated the sun rise where the sun goes, where the sun goes. So how do you actually orientate your building, and yeah. So that's the first, and yeah, it's a mixed program. So on the first floor there are supposed to be some shops. We'll see. And yeah, so at the rooftop it's a common place. So it's a place that you can actually, it's open for all the apartments, and the concept is also, the canopy, so it's supposed to be a green garden upstairs. So, and the shades are made by this. This is supposed to be aluminium. It's not wood for this place because it's another kind of project. But I think the concept is still here, and all the living room have this kind of situation. So you have this kind of, like terraces, and you're supposed to have a view, like not to be in a constrained place. Okay, I don't know if it's English. And yeah, and that's the lobby. And yeah, there is a sport place. There is it's a simple project, but the structure is really, you can actually read the structure, but it doesn't mean that your building should stop there. You can actually calculate your cantilever, and you can play with that too. So yeah, the materiality here will be aluminium, because aluminium works well with when you're on the seaside. It's you really have to think about the level of oxidation to properly find your aluminium, because I had a bad experience, and now I know. And that's it. I think when the money will be there, it should be nice. So just waiting for that. So I think I'm done. Thank you.